Thank you guys so much for joining me today. This is episode 6 of The Construct. We have a very special guest. This is an old friend of mine from a few years ago. Cuba, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you here. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and we'll get started.
All right, sounds good. Well, I will prepare your viewers and your listeners that I'm not really great at speaking about myself, but I'll really try. I just work with amazing people, and I like to shout them out more than myself out. But I am a director, I am a TV producer, and a music producer as well. And I have a company called SanRico Film and Music, as well as a company and product called Salud 24/7.
That's awesome. And when I first met you, I've seen your work, and there's a couple mutual friends of ours that made us connect. I wanted to ask you, like, what was the thing that sparked your love for film and music?
Oh my goodness, that's a big question there, and I don't want to waste the little time that we have on my response. I'll give you the short answer. Music and film were a part of my life since I can remember. So I began really creating my own songs at the age of 8 years old, and I loved pop music. Hip hop was growing, and it was becoming a huge genre. And I also had my cousins who lived in Puerto Rico flying from Puerto Rico and showing me these little cassette tapes, and they would call it underground, which now, years later, it's reggaeton. So this was like the birth of reggaeton. And so I always enjoyed music at that age. I always combined the sounds, and I just had a natural love for reggae music, dancehall music. So it kind of worked out because that's what the huge influence for reggaeton was and underground was. And when it came to film, I didn't realize I had a passion for it until I got much older. I went to a high school that actually had a TV program, a TV and film program in the high school itself. And to me, it was just like, oh, I can get out of fourth block. Like I could just skip, skip class and go to this class. And when I got there and the things that we were learning, I realized, man, this feels so comfortable because I love movies. And since I was a kid, I used to love watching how they made it more than actually the movie itself. And there weren't many BTS things at the time. So there was a TV show called Movie Magic, and I would always watch it whenever it was on TV. And so I would say that that's what really sparked my love for film and television as well as music. And as I grew, I noticed that I do this till this day. So as embarrassing as this is, I go to the movies weekly and I go by
Mhm.
myself. Like it's an escape for me. I love it. I'm so busy. It's one of the few places I don't feel bad, turning off my phone. Like normally I feel like I need my phone on me all the time because of my work. And that's the only place where I'm like, nope, I'm at the movies. I gotta put do not disturb on, I don't want to bother anybody here. And so I was doing that since I could drive. Since I was 17, I'd be going to the movies by myself, and that's really how my love for music and film really began.
That's awesome. What was, just out of curiosity, what was the last movie you watched in theaters?
Oh, come on, man, Superman.
Superman.
Yeah, I saw it twice, believe it or not. I saw it twice. I know there's mixed reactions to it, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
I gotta watch it soon. I already got
yeah.
some things spoiled for me, but I definitely gotta
Uh
check it out, you
It's
know?
still a good movie, even if there's normally you don't want spoilers, but in this one, it'll still be a good movie.
For sure. And did you always know that you wanted to do this professionally, or did it kind of like evolve over time? Because I noticed that a lot of people who are in the creative space, it's kind of like it calls to you and it's kind of like forced upon you throughout like circumstances and life just happening. Did it evolve for you, or was it something you kind of like knew it was something you wanted to do professionally in music and film?
I love that question. That's actually a good question. So thank you.
Of course.
It definitely evolved. It definitely evolved. And I will say this, as we continue speaking, I will probably learn things about myself as well, because nobody's asked me these questions before. So now that I think about it, it definitely evolved. As I mentioned before, like I was into music first, and that was my first passion. Then I remember my mom made me perform in front of our church once, at like 9 years old, and I was like, "Ma, I don't want to do that." And she was like, "No, you're my actor in this play." And after I performed, I ended up loving being in front of audiences. So then it was like music and performance was my thing for a long time. As I mentioned before, I was in this television program at the Banana Factory. It's really sad. They just took down the Banana Factory here in the Lehigh Valley.
Dang.
It was a huge staple, but I believe they're still gonna, whatever they're rebuilding, it's still gonna be arts related, for the community. But it was called the Banana Factory when I was a kid, and I remember my teacher, and maybe I shouldn't say I shouldn't say this out loud, but I remember my teacher. Shout out to Mr. Rivas because he changed my life. He really did. He just told me, he was like, "Man, you are so you have potential that you don't know that you have. Right? You're just flying by, trying to get an easy A, and you don't realize, like, if you just put the time and write a good script and put the shots together, you probably would have a good product, because these last minute projects that you're, doing are actually not that bad." Because I would just, do the bare minimum as long as I passed. I was like I was a knucklehead. And I remember when he told me that, I said, "You know what? There was this one project we had to do, and I wrote the script. I called it Don Tony. Like it was like a making fun of like those Spanish soap operas,
Okay.
And Don Tony's my dad is my dad's name. God rest his soul, but his name was Tony, and so I really based it off like my dad and stuff. And I really made this funny script, but I laid out the shots and what I think the shots should be, and I really took time to do it. And when I realized what I had when I finished, I was like, man, this guy's right. like I did this great project. I had an amazing technical director who believed in me as well. She was a great friend, Yvonne Quaid. And I remember her saying, "Yo, we should submit this to the one local film festival, the TV like film festival, the local TV film festival." And I said, "All right, but I mean, we're high school kids. Like, what are we gonna do?" And I'm so grateful because she really fought for that and she submitted it and we won. We won best
Wow.
yeah, and that changed my life after that. I realized, you know what, this is a part of me because it has similar concepts of creating music, right? Music, I feel like honestly people hate me when I say this, but music is a little bit more difficult. I feel like you just have hundreds of tracks, and everything has to align up. Everything has to be perfect. The frequencies have to be perfect, right? So jumping into film, I was like, oh, I have three cameras. That's all I have to worry about is three shots, three angles. Um, anyways, so after that, I realized I actually love this. And so fast forward many years later, I was producing music videos and directing music videos, which also made me realize, you know what? I'm doing this because I love film. Like I watch movies every week. I need to start directing films, and that's how I started to get into the film world.
And one of the things when we first met, I remember you told me that Anthony, like if you, because I think at the time I just finished film school at Full Sail University, around the time after I graduated, and then I met you. You told me that it's good to just keep learning because even I think you yourself told me that you at times take classes just to keep reminding yourself and keep yourself updated so that way because sometimes when you're so busy, it's sometimes hard to like stay at that creative space.
Absolutely.
It could definitely burn you out. Um,
Absolutely.
and I wanted to ask you, what were some of the biggest early challenges that you faced breaking into the um, industry, whether it was music or directing and film?
Well, first, I will say yes, I've learned that you have to constantly be learning in this business. The tools change. Now it's even worse. The tools change every 6 months,
Hmm.
if not every 3 months, right? Like something crazy. I refresh myself before I go on a shoot every time. So every time I have a film shoot or a video shoot or a TV shoot, I literally have these notes that I have accumulated throughout the years, and I just scan all my notes, right? And it's incredible how you sometimes forget what you already know. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's like, "Ah, I already knew that. How did I forget that?" And so I definitely recommend people creating their own director's notes or music producer notes, right? Because that's going to happen. Things evolve so much that 5 years from now, if you don't have something to really help you maintain your foundation, sometimes it can get lost in translation with all these new tools and such. But what's great about constantly learning is you apply what you already know, right, uh, um, with the things that you just learned. So, perfect example: technology has changed a lot. It's gone from analog to digital to, everything
AI.
is Ethernet now, right? And now, obviously, AI for content creators. Even though I see that they're doing some things to combat that, which is good, but I was just on a TV set. Everything is Ethernet. Everything. Like nothing is, and I saw the changes throughout the years, but now it's like you don't run an XLR cable anymore. Like you're
Wow.
just running Ethernet cables, right? To either a Dante, through the Dante system or whatnot. But the biggest how that works, or I'm transitioning to the second part of your question, how that works with like me trying to get into the industry, the biggest hurdles that I had was literally things changed even back then when I got started. And the funniest thing was being on sets, and some of my friends now, years later, we crack on this all the time. It's like the nicknames for pieces of gear that
Hmm.
are on a TV set or a film set that's not actually the name of that gear, right? So it's like I've come to realize that I think it's just a way of saying, "Do you belong here?" Right? Do you know enough to be here? I don't really know why they just make up these names to this day, but a great example is I remember I was working on a TV set when I first started, right? And I started going to the camera ops, and I'm like, "Hey, do you need anything?" I was what we call a utility, where we help audio and video crew with whatever they need technically, right? So we're like the PAs for, but on the technical side, we weren't doing like lunches or anything like that, like crafty or anything like that. Which everything is important, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
And it is. You learn that when you take on every role. But I just remember going up to a camera op and saying, "Hey, how can I help you?" And he's like, "Oh, go get me a lunchbox. I need a lunchbox for my camera." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"What? What is a lunchbox?" Like, I didn't learn what a lunchbox was in school, at
Yeah.
Full Sail, or I also went to Northampton Community College for TV as well. And so I figured out a trick. I would go to the next camera op and say, "Hey, I'm grabbing a lunchbox for camera one. Do you need one?" And then he would look down, point at the AD converter, and go, "No, I have one." And I'm like, "Oh, it's the AD converter." They're calling it a
Oh.
lunchbox for some reason, right? So I fell into like that was my trick of getting away with like learning things without looking like I didn't know what they were. But that was the biggest hurdle. The other thing too is it took me a little while to realize this industry is all who you know. And as much as that's like some famous term, it's like, no, if you're not going out there and networking and you're not talking to different people, the opportunities do not come. They do not come. And I know we're living in an age where everything is online and you can submit things online. But man, let me tell you, all my gigs I've ever gotten my whole life when I was a freelancer, they all came because I met somebody at an event. I decided to drive to New York to just go to a random studio and pay for some hours to meet the people there. Like I did all kinds of little tricks to meet more people. And then those same people called me for gigs weeks later, even months later. But that's how um, I ended up building my network. And I wish somebody would have told me that right out of school, because it took me a long time to figure that out. So that's a gem. That's a gem for you guys. Psh, psh, network, network, go to live events. Don't just email, you know.
No, that's actually one of the things I wanted to ask you about because I feel like a lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there and network with people. And there's that old saying, it's not what you know, who you know, right?
Absolutely.
And you could have all the knowledge with film, understanding, aperture, shutter speed, all these things. But unless you know someone in that industry, you're never gonna really get yourself out there. Um, what's been like your process of how you network with people back then and now? Like, is it the same process like both times?
That's another good question. So it's a little different now, but it always ends with meeting them in person, right? Or
Hmm.
having a discussion. So maybe I don't meet them in person, but we're doing this. We're having a digital conversation, but I always end up speaking with them. It just there's something to it. There's an energy to it, right? They remember you after that. Another thing to know, and this is might be a shocker for some people, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but I feel like people should know this. When I went to Full Sail, the first thing that one teacher told me was you should have a nickname.
Hmm.
And he goes, because people will remember your nickname quicker than they know your actual name. So let me tell you, Cuba is not my first name. Cuba I took that advice and I went 100% because growing up in my neighborhood, everyone called me, some people called me Cuba Rico. It was the people who worked for my father. My dad was a painter. He had a painting company, and his employees would call me Cuba Rico because I was the only half Cuban on the block. Everybody was Puerto Rican. And I just said, you know what? Like his workers call me Cuba Rico. My Instagram is Cuba Rico. Everything is Cuba Rico. Like I'm Cuba. That's my name. And let me tell you, that has gotten me into more doors because they're like, oh yeah, that Cuba guy. Like I remember him. But it started with a nickname, so people are like, who is that? Right? They remember you quicker. But it always ends with a conversation. Always.
That's good to know. Wow, that's a hidden gem, and it's funny because I know a lot of even
More
like
gems. I'm just throwing
yeah,
gems.
I know, man. This is like good stuff, and this is very helpful for a lot of people. I feel like because I noticed that a lot of rappers, even producers, they have like nicknames so that way they can like you know when people talk about them, people remember that right away. Because again, I feel like us as humans, we kind of have like short attention spans and generally. Like even when I used to watch like long form video, now I just focus a lot on short content because my like mind
Hmm.
at times can just like go off. But if something's like simple, like you like just name yourself Cuba, like and having that nickname, it'll allow you to stand out and people remember you easier. You know,
Right.
um, how do you because I know you're a businessman. How do you balance the artistic side with the business side of all the of between the two?
That's easy. I don't.
Really?
No, I'm still figuring that out. I got into this because of passion and love. And I can say that the reason why, if you don't learn the business, right? If you don't understand that it's the film business, it's the music business, it's the television business, if you don't understand that, you're not going to grow, right? You're really not going to go anywhere. So I kind of had to force myself to learn the business. But if I have any skill set, it's it's seeing people's talent if they're just starting and getting them in the right place, in the right position, or seeing what I need and seeing the right person that fits that need, right? So when it came to business, I got really lucky. I was working on a couple of short films, and the producer and director of those projects, we just really hit it off. His name is Mike Walsh, and I mean, this guy's just a really business savvy type of person, right? And I just kept telling him, I'm like, man, I really believe in you. I see in 5 years who you're going to become. Even if nobody sees it, I see it. Like I know who you're going to be. And we just built a great relationship that it got to the point where he believed in me and the projects that I was working on, and he became my business partner. And he really guides me a lot till this day. Like, hey, your bookkeeping has to be done this way, or hey, when you think of investment, you have to do these other type of things. But I'm more of like the vision of the company, and then I have people who help me on my day-to-day tasks, including some of the producers for Salud, like my the co-founder Dr. William Felix, and one of the producers, Albani Sanchez. She is a really has a really great business mind, and so does Dr. Felix. And so I'm constantly collaborating with people to make sure that we're making the right decisions for the business.
That's awesome. And what's because I feel like, being in the creative space, whether you're a film director, poet, or you're an artist, in music, what's something people get wrong about what you do?
In the sense of like business and being creative, or
Yeah, you do
yeah,
for either or.
I
Hmm.
I would say that the biggest hurdle that I've been encountering is knowing when to turn the business mode off and getting back into the creative. And there's always a learning process, right? You're always going to learn from your failures. And where
Hmm.
I'm at in my life, it's really incredible because I've had some amazing people work with me. I've had amazing people now grow and build their own production companies. And what I've come to realize is that if you don't maintain that same passion, that same drive, if you don't remember who you are before you started the business, you're not going to succeed. And it's so strange because this past year I've been focused on purpose. That's been the word for my year, right? Purpose and who am I? And remembering how I got to where I got to and the people that were, around me and what my thought process was. I realized that you need to know who you are, where you came from, what inspired you if you're going to succeed in the business side of things. Because the moment you just turn into, okay, what are the data? What does the data say? What do the I'm
Hmm.
looking at the analytics, and but once your brain turns into that, you forget who you are, and you forget what's why you even thought about building the company in the first place. And that lesson I'm noticing I'm not just learning. I'm many people I've been working with and partnering with. It got to the point where they learned it so much where they just got out of the business and just said, "Look, I just want to be a painter. I don't even want to have a business. Like I just want to paint and express myself." And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And with AI and everything that's going on right now, I I've never been scared of AI now that I know my purpose because I
Hmm.
say I'm always going to want to produce a song, write, create a film, create a TV show because I have something to say. The moment you're just thinking about the business side, that's where AI is a problem and all these things are a problem. But it's not a problem for me because I have something to say. I have something that I want to express, whether you learn something about yourself, whether I'm teaching you something, whether it's just entertainment. I'm always going to have something to say. And I'm in this business because that's who I've always been. I've been somebody that's wanted to express myself. And you need business, right? You need business to succeed. And that's why I have the right people who that's all they think about, and that's why
Hmm.
I have them now. That allows me to be a little bit more creative. But there are days where I'll stop all the business meetings by 1 p.m. and just tell everybody, look, man, I'm unplugging because if I'm not creative, even editing, you have to be creative. I'm like,
Absolutely.
if I'm not just focused on editing and I'm focused on these emails that you want me to send out, we're not going to have a good product. And if we don't have a good product, right, who's going to want to sponsor it? If we don't have sponsors, we don't have money, right? It just there's a huge domino effect of focus on the creativity, build the right business team, but learn when to shut it off and focus on being creative, on the reason why you even started in the first place.
One of the things I noticed that you talked about is, which I don't think gets enough credit, is the importance of having a good team around you.
Mm.
when it comes to the business side or for the editing or for your camera people, that are helping you achieve your vision, right? How, in your opinion, how important is like having a good team around you when you're conducting in these projects that you've been doing?
How important are they? Man, this is I'm very bad about speaking about myself because I value them more than I value myself,
Hmm.
right? Having the right team is so important. I've tried to always build a team with people who have integrity, people who have good work ethic, and people who aren't afraid to speak up, right? When you have those a team with people like that, you tend to really get the best type of products, right? The other aspect that I look for in a team member or someone that I want on my set is a positive thinker, is a positive person. We all have bad days. Being Thinking positive isn't really natural sometimes, like you have to work towards it. But people who aren't just always bringing negativity and gossip to a set, that spreads like wildfire. When you're having a 12-hour day, you're tired, you're hungry, and then there's just negativity everywhere. Like that's a big no-no for me. I cut those people out right away. Even if they're the best, even if they're better than anybody else on the set and have more experience than anybody, I'd rather take the guy who's learning, but he's bringing a positive mentality to everything on my set. And because of that, the people that I've worked with throughout my whole life are the only reason I've been able to achieve what I achieve. Every single person, every single phase of whatever I've worked on, has been the team that has been with me at that time, at that moment. Whether it's cinematographers, camera people, production coordinators, even makeup, the PAs I had on my sets, all of those people, producers, all of those people have allowed me to become who I am, to this day. And so to me, that question, it's like, man, the team is everything. My team is teaching me the importance of good leadership, and the reason that I have vision helps them, but I still like to shout them out more than myself.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you have a great team around you. And I know that for me, I can speak for myself, but peace is very important to me. And I could tell, like, based how you describe your team and your environment that you want to create when you're working on set, that peace is important for you too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's already hard to achieve something, especially even though we're a business, we're still trying to create things out of nothing, something out of nothing.
Hmm.
It's already hard to do that. If you're first starting, right, and you're first working on your first short film or a music video and you're just getting into the industry, it's already hard. It's already difficult. That day the camera didn't work, or the production person didn't come in, they got the wrong flowers, or the sun, it's raining, like it's already difficult to achieve the impossible. And let's let people know what we do is achieving the impossible. Creating something right out of nothing is very impossible. And those who stick with it and those who make this their career, it's because they fight through those things, right? And they love to see the outcome of it. They love to see, hey, I fought through all of the adversity, and here I am, and wow, what a great product. I worked on that, or I learned so much from that product. I can't wait to do the next one and not make those same mistakes, actually do better. So if you're not at peace, man, like you get to the point where you're on set, you're not worried about telling the story. You're just worried about some gossip. You're worried about a production issue instead of telling the story. And when you're on set, no matter what your job is, that should be the main focus. When I was a PA for when I first started and I was doing some stuff at Viacom, I remember they had me doing setting up Crafty, right? And I just remember like thinking in the back of my head, if I do this the best that I can, the director can focus on directing, the producer can focus on producing. They're not going to be starving, hungry, wondering what's going on, right? So even the smallest job is important to tell the story. And if I was just complaining there the whole time, and then the other PAs would start complaining, and then it would just turn into a big negative set. Could the director really tell the story that he was trying to tell? I know that I couldn't. I learned that from the many years of once I started directing. I cannot have negativity. The peace of mind, like you said, I do a lot of things in the morning to keep my peace. I wake up, my phone is on do not disturb until 9 a.m., but I wake up at 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. sometimes, and I'm reading, I'm learning something about either CEOs or something new about production, or honestly just enjoying a good book. I try to get in my push-ups or my jumping jacks, something to get my blood moving. Um, but I try to keep the morning to myself, because I already know that by 9 a.m. the emails are going to come in, the phone calls, the complaints, the oh my gosh, we don't have this, we need that, all those things are going to come at 9 o'clock. But then the same at night. Once 9:30 hits, I'm still awake till midnight, but my phones are not on do not disturb. I'm catching a movie with my family, or I'm watching a movie for myself, or whatever I need to do to keep my peace to get ready for the next day.
That's awesome. And to follow up with that, where do you find fulfillment now in your life? Is it the work? Is it like the lifestyle? Or is it something deeper that gives you fulfillment now?
Wow, that's a deep question, man. And it's a crazy question because I kind of hinted towards it. I've been on this journey this past year of understanding purpose and my purpose and what makes me happy, what gets me out of bed, right? And what brings me fulfillment is being able to express myself and not holding back. And what I mean by that is I express myself through art, through music, through film, through TV. I developed with some amazing people, Salud 24/7, because in my heart, I just felt like the Hispanic side of me. My team, we coined the phrase hyphen, which is we're the hyphen kids, and my team designed that name because we're in between Hispanic and American. We're living in the hyphen, and I just saw the things that my family that didn't speak English, I just saw they weren't getting the information that I was getting in English, right? And so my heart felt like, well, if I was given these skills and I was given this talent to do production, I should use that to help my community as well. And I noticed that if I'm not doing that, if I'm not, even if I'm happy making a song, making a new track, or if I have this full story that I want to conceive, this film that I want to work on, if I'm not doing these things, I noticed that I'm not myself. I
Mhm.
noticed that when I speak to others, I tend to use the phrase, I'm not feeling myself right now. Just give me a second. And it took me this whole year to really realize, what is my purpose? What is my why? Why do I get out of bed? And it's not the business. It's the creative side.
Mhm.
And if I don't nurture that, and if I don't focus on that, I won't feel fulfilled. I won't feel like myself when I wake up in the morning, right? And that's my answer.
No, that's I love that answer, and I definitely relate to a lot of things you said because I just had an interview the other day that I did on Tuesday, and he was talking about how you know living his life with purpose as well, and how sometimes when you're always so busy, whether it's the meetings, traveling back and forth to here in Florida, it's hard to stay present and to allow time to
Mm,
just like breathe, just to breathe and actually think about, because I asked you that question earlier, like, was this like brought upon you? Was it like, something that was forced upon you in a way? And then now, and I guess the timing of everything is just seems so perfect because now you're like, you know, in a point in your life in 2025 where you actually have the time to reflect and see what is my purpose, what gives me fulfillment, what is driving me to wake up every morning, you know? And That's and that's I love that answer so much because that's one of the biggest reasons why I started doing this platform, because everyone's story is different. You know, everyone has something that drives them, something that gives them that drive to, you know, be the best version of themselves. You know, and you're so knowledgeable with everything that you do, Cuba. Uh, would you ever consider like teaching or mentoring like filmmakers or people who are trying to be in that creative space?
I had a great person once who mentioned to me, I guess it's a Quincy Jones saying, I'm going to paraphrase because I don't know where he got it from, but he said you should always have an apprentice, an apprentice and a mentor. And I will say that because of that, I do purposefully all my sets. I have the kids who are fresh out of full cell. I try to get as many full cell kids as I can. On this last Salud shoot, I was able to have two full cell kids over there in Orlando be on my set, so it was really great. But then I try to have the people that I work with. I kept telling you about my team. My team knows more than me when it comes to their field, right? And they're like my mentors. They're the people that I'm learning from. But then I have my what I call, the apprentices, right? The people that are coming on set and they're learning. And so yeah, I technically do that now because I know the importance of it. And not only that, I think anybody who teaches can tell you you probably learn more than the students as a teacher because you have to prep what you're going to say. You realize what you're saying, like there's so many things that happen where you tend to learn most as a teacher, but the importance of constantly learning. So that's why that when they mentioned you should always have a mentor, you should always have an apprentice, it just made sense to me right away.
That's awesome. And I wanted to, what is your, do you have a special connection with Florida? Because I know that you travel back and forth here in Pennsylvania. Um, is there a special, like, you know, I'm not sure if you used to live in Florida, because I know that, like, you know, your, all of your creative work is based out there. What's like your special connection with Florida, if you mind me asking?
That's another great question that nobody ever asks me. I think everyone wonders, like, why don't you live there already? And I ask myself the same thing. And I think it's maybe I did say I would learn something about myself when in this interview, and I think I'm learning that I'm scared to lose who I am and where I came from, right? That person is the reason why I'm succeeding and the reason why, at least that I'm doing what I love to do. And I have that fear of like, if I just disconnect from where I came from, will I be as productive? Will I be as creative? I don't know. And maybe I need to just take the leap. And I do have some great friends just counseling me that I should take the leap and I listen to them. But Florida has been in my life. I mean, I'm half Cuban, so I
Mhm.
grew up going to Florida every summer to visit my Cuban family. And I also would go to Puerto Rico every summer, but Florida was always the place. Then my after a while, my once I got to high school, my dad moved to Florida, and then I went to Full Sail in Florida. So Florida just it so happens has been this place in my life that has always been a part of me and a part of my life. And who knows, now that I think about it, maybe because I'm flying back and forth, that's what's allowed me to have to think big because Florida, I feel like everything they do is big. They got the theme parks and everything there, so it's like you have to think big. You go to the car wash, the guy's singing to you. You don't get that out here, right? You don't get that out here, and but there is something in the water out here in the Lehigh Valley. I mean, how many stars have come out of here? When you think about the stars, Taylor Swift, you got The Rock, you got Amanda Seyfried, I think is how you
Mhm.
pronounce her name. Number one from Star Trek. Yeah, I'm a Trekkie. I'm a nerd. Number one went to Liberty. So there's just so many. There's something in the water out here, right? And so maybe I just try to stay connected to it. But as far as Florida, that's the main reason. Florida. It's just been a part of my life since I was a kid.
That's awesome. And I've just want to, close out with the last few questions I have for you. Thank you again for your time, bro. Like, I know it's not easy. I'm the same way. I don't like to talk about myself a lot either. You know what I mean? So
No,
you've
I'm
given.
grateful. I'm grateful for your time and allowing me to be here for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what's next for you? If you have anything that you're working on that you're excited about.
Yeah, I'm working on a couple of things, but the one that I'm really excited about literally launches next week. I'm not sure when this airs, but it'll launch this month. And it's called Salud 24/7. It's a health related media company that's focused on bringing medical um, information, right, or health related information to our Hispanic community, and we do that through podcasts, through our social media platform, and we're also developing and creating these docu series with some known artists, some known Spanish artists. I'm really excited for that. We got a lot of known. When I say known, they're known Latin artists that are doing these docu series with us. So I'm really excited for that, and we're launching that now this month. So Salud 247.com or salud 247.com. That'll land you on our webpage where you can choose if you want to follow us via YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever your preference is, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is. That's probably the best way to connect with us. But yeah, we launched that. We're still tightening things up, to get ready for the launch, but we're so excited to get this information out there. It's not about losing weight. It's not about accessing our platform 24/7, 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's about bringing awareness to your health and all the different aspects of your health 24 hours, 7 days a week, right? Whether it's when you're working, are you getting anxiety, right? What's the mental health status of your life? When you're eating, how do you feel after you eat certain foods, right? If you're taking care of your parents and they have diabetes, right? What are the things that you need to know? When you're going to sleep, how much sleep are you getting, right? How important is sleep? All those things we talk about on the different platforms that we have. So that's what we're launching. We're doing a big launch party July 23rd at VentureX in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. But right now, we tested the show in Telemundo in Orlando. Um, we're now going to WFMZ in Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and we're also working on WIPR in Puerto Rico. We've been blessed that they aired some of our special episodes already. So yeah, this is something that I'm really excited about, and I'm really excited to get the community to follow it and get this information to their abuelitas, their tias, whoever they need to give that information to, who's not currently getting the right information in English.
That's awesome. And if you don't mind me asking, was there something, because you're already a busy man with, filmmaking and,
Mhm.
music videos, all these things. Was there something that uh inspired you to launch, this program that you're launching next week?
Yeah, two things. So what's crazy is that the idea was brought to me by one of the previous producers, and I just remember thinking, wow, what a great idea. But what if we did this, right? And then he and I just went back and forth and talked about it, and then COVID hit.
Mhm.
And when COVID hit, some of my family members that didn't speak English, they weren't getting the right information, or they were getting misinformation. And I I've said this already, I was getting certain information in English that they weren't getting. And I just felt like I said before, I just felt like it was the right thing to do, was to launch this product first. So I've been MIA for like 5 years, just testing it, building the company, seeing what works, what doesn't work, working with the co-founder, Dr. William Felix, and working with our amazing producers on like what actually works. How do we fund this, right? Because it's important to know, like, the business side is important. And so we're finally ready to get this out. And but that's the main reason why we did it. It was just, I did it for the passion, right? And I'm still pushing this product because of the passion I have to get this information out to our community. But I'm not gonna lie, as we've been doing it, man, I've been learning a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about mental health. I've learned a lot about making sure, and I said this earlier as well, making sure that when you see a piece of food, you think, how's that going to make me feel? Right?
Hmm.
We don't tend to do that. And like I said, it's not about losing weight, it's just about bringing awareness to your health overall, right? Where do we stumble because of our culture, right? I want to eat healthy, but m- my whole family makes rice and beans and tostones every day. Like, what are some things that I can do? But we talk about everything, man. Like the last episode I did, even things that you don't want, that you feel like you would never talk about, but it's so interesting because there was one episode that we just filmed last week, and it was like going to the bathroom, right?
Hmm.
And it was so funny because I'm looking at the camera operators, I'm looking at, and they're all like super focused, like, yo, that's me. Yeah, I have that issue. Or man, I didn't know that. I shouldn't really eat that stuff anymore. And you really realize like these things that we don't really want to say in public, it's important information that we
Yeah,
need to be taking care of ourselves and our health.
that's great, man. That's so powerful. And I'm congratulations on everything you got going on. And I'm definitely, gonna make sure that all the links are attached in this video.
Oh,
And
thank you, man. Thank you.
of course, I'm today's by the time of the filming of this interview, uh I'm probably gonna get this out like at least before like Monday or Tuesday around
Oh,
there.
wow. Okay,
Yeah,
great, great.
yeah.
Then
I
come to the launch if you're in Pennsylvania, Lehigh Valley,
yes.
July 23rd. Come out to our launch from 6 to 8 p.m. at Venture X in Bethlehem. Hope to see you guys there.
Absolutely. And Cuba, where can people connect and find you? If you want to touch any social medias you had, go ahead.
Once again, I'm not big on promoting myself, but now that we're here and my team yells at me every day that I need to be posting more, I will. And that's why I'm grateful that you allowed me to be on here and really help me with that. So I'm really grateful to you as well because
Absolutely.
it's just not something that I do. It's a little easier when other people post and tag me, for me to really share things. But my Instagram is probably the best way to find me. It's Qbah Rico, but it's spelled differently. So it's Qbah. So Cuba is Qbah, Rico, and then we also have the SanRico page, which is SanRico Film Music. So SAN, Rico, RICO, Film Music. So you can follow those two pages.
Awesome, man. And again, all these social
Oh,
media
I'm sorry.
handles.
You know what? Here, I'm forgetting.
Oh, go
But
ahead.
follow Salud as well, right? So follow Salud. So Salud247.tv. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes, and all of these links I will be attaching in the description of this
Perfect.
video.
Perfect. Perfect.
Be good, sure to support Cuba. Again, one of the reasons why I created this platform is to allow people with a voice to express themselves, and especially people like Cuba who are actually trying to help people, and whether it's like in the creative side and in health, that's powerful. So keep doing what
Mm.
you're doing. Keep being an
Well, thank
inspiration,
you.
bro. And again, thank you for so much for your time.
Thank you, man. I received that. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.